Spider-Man 3 had a budget of $250 million, the highest ever at the time. But with advanced CGI, daily filming costs of $1 million, and reshoots that delayed the release by 8 months, the total cost went over $350 million. Over 1,000 people worked on the film. It took 8,000 hours to make 40 Spider-Man suits and nearly 3 years to finish the visual effects. The entire production lasted 2 years and 10 months. Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire pushed for Sandman to be in the movie. Even during interviews for the earlier films, they said he was the villain they wanted for Part 3. Sandman's first appearance took 6 months to create. His sand-based powers were even harder to animate, taking nearly 3 years to complete. For the scene where Spider-Man punches Sandman's chest, they used boxer Baxter Humby, who has no right hand. His real punch helped make the sand explosion more realistic. Sam Raimi wanted Peter Parker to grow as a person. The story shows Peter realizing that criminals aren't just evil, they're still human. The Venom symbiote brings out Peter's darkest traits, forcing him to question his own sense of justice. Raimi explained that Peter often sees himself as a flawless hero trying to make up for Uncle Ben's death, but learning that life isn't so black and white would be his most important lesson. This idea was directly inspired by the original comics. Thomas Hayden Church trained for 16 months to play Sandman. He lost 5 pounds of fat and gained 14 pounds of muscle. He based his performance on misunderstood monsters like the Golem, King Kong, and Frankenstein. In Harry's lab, next to his father's green goblin mask, there's a gold hobgoblin mask. This was a subtle reference to the comics. James Franco took omelet-making lessons just to prepare for the breakfast scene with Kirsten Dunst. When production started, no software could create Sandman's powers. New programs had to be built during filming, requiring months of work and massive effort to finish on time. Thomas Hayden Church revealed that he broke 3 of his knuckles during a fight scene. The effects team had informed him that the middle brick would be fake, while the ones on top and bottom would be real. However, the fake brick hadn't been placed in position yet, and when Sam Raimi yelled, "Action!", Church punched a real brick in the first take. Real sand was not used in the scenes. In scenes where the sand could be dangerous, crushed corn kernels were used instead. However, with the exception of moments where characters are buried in or covered by sand, all the sand effects were created digitally. In the early stages of production, the Vulture character was also intended to appear. Ben Kingsley was in talks to play the role, but the story was later changed, and Venom was added instead. Kingsley eventually appeared in Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi films years later. The Vulture character finally made it to the big screen in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Initially, Dr. Curt Connors, portrayed by Dylan Baker, was meant to mutate into the Lizard and become the main villain of the film. The transformation hints were present in the movie, such as the lizard skeleton in his lab and his missing right arm. In the comics, Connors used reptilian DNA in an attempt to regenerate his arm. This experiment turned him into a monster. However, this storyline was shelved and later used in The Amazing Spider-Man film. There were also plans for Curt Connors to transform into the Lizard in a potential 4th movie. After Peter promises to pay his rent once Mr. Ditkovich fixes the door, he walks towards the window. On the bookshelf next to it, Robert Louis Stevenson's Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is visible. Novel's theme of a dual identity echoes Peter's own internal struggle as he shifts towards his darker side. At first, Sam Raimi was reluctant to include Venom in the film as he felt the character lacked humanity. However, Marvel producer Avi Arad convinced him by pointing out Venom's massive fan base worldwide. Raimi gradually warmed to the character, influenced by Alvin Sargent's script and Topher Grace's performance. To keep Venom's appearance a secret, he pretended not to like the character during production and claimed he wouldn't include him in future films. To make up for this, on July 22, 2006, Raimi presented the first footage of Venom, even though it was incomplete and featured unfinished special effects, at the San Diego Comic-Con. In the original script, astronaut John Jameson was supposed to be overtaken by the symbiote upon returning from a space mission. However, to streamline production and manage the budget, the storyline was altered so that the symbiote originated from a meteor that landed near Peter Parker. Years later, this space mission idea was reintroduced in the Venom film, though instead of Venom, the symbiote was revealed to be Riot. When the symbiote sticks to the number plate of Peter's motorbike, it takes the shape of Venom's initial V. Topher Grace prepared for his role as Venom by working for 6 months to gain 10 kilograms of muscle. To achieve this, he underwent intense physical training and followed a strict diet including protein-rich meals and shakes. Grace also drew inspiration from various sources, highlighting the contrast between Eddie Brock and Peter Parker. Although both competed for the same woman and worked in the same field, Eddie was portrayed as more confident, yet hollow, in stark contrast to Peter's strong moral values. Many scenes were shot for Spider-Man 3 that didn't make it to the final cut or the DVD release. These included sequences of Peter capturing criminals in his black suit, confrontation between Captain Stacy and Eddie Brock, Gwen breaking up with Eddie, and a chilling moment where a monstrous version of the symbiote screams at Peter through a mirror. In the comics, the symbiote was depicted as a conscious liquid, but director Sam Raimi wanted a more organic and unique design for the film, something that didn't resemble a spider or an octopus, so the symbiote was reimagined as a web-like entity, made of countless individual CGI strands that cling to the body. For Venom's movements, animators at Sony Pictures Imageworks took inspiration from big cats like tigers, panthers, and cheetahs. Sam Raimi was deeply unhappy with how Spider-Man 3 turned out. He hoped to make up for it with a strong fourth film and even had ideas for a fifth and sixth installment. However, creative disagreements with Sony and producer Avi Arad led to Raimi's departure, and Spider-Man 4 was ultimately cancelled. Sam Raimi became the first director to helm 3 films in a superhero franchise. At the time, Bryan Singer had directed only 2 X-Men films. Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher had each directed 2 Batman films. Christopher Nolan secured second place with his The Dark Knight trilogy. Bryan Singer took third place in 2014 with X-Men: Days of Future Past. While wearing the Venom suit, Topher Grace never drank water during breaks on set because the suit made it impossible for him to use the restroom. The symbiote costume used in the film was sold at auction for $125,000 in 2024. And that wraps up our Spider-Man 3 video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Which movie should we cover next? Let me know in the comments. Take care and see you in the next one.